Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 6th September 2023. Brought to you by Ganesh IAS Academy. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. So these are all the important articles which we will be discussing in the upcoming slides. Have a look at it. Okay, let's get into the today's current affairs session. Reducing friction. See, the RBI, what the news is related to, the RBI has launched its central bank digital currency in a pilot mode, that is in retail segment as well as the wholesale segment. In wholesale segment, it is related to the news, the article is related in wholesale segment. It is related to transactions in the secondary market of government securities, and then RBI aims to increase the per day transaction rate to 10 lakhs per day in terms of central bank's digital currency, and also it is planning to interoperate with the UPI so that a convenience in the usage of central bank digital currency will be made. So this is what the news is related to. How the news is related to civil service examination is, under prelims it is related to economics and social development, and under mains it is related to Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment. And let's look into how the previous year prelims question have been asked in relation to the central bank's digital currency. The news which we are looking right now on the board, it is the question which was asked in 2023 prelims. With reference to central bank digital currency, consider the following statement. It is possible to make payments in digital currency without using US dollar or SWIFT system. Yes, it is possible. Second is, a digital currency can be distributed with a condition programmed into it, such as time frame for spending it. No, it's not the case. Why it is the digital currency is similar to the rupee note, fiat or the legal tender physical rupee note. So it is the consumer or the user's discretionary to spend, or he has a discretion to keep it himself. So the answer is option A, one only. About central bank digital currency, it is the digital token which represents legal tender, and it is issued in same denomination of the paper currency as well as coins, and then the financial intermediaries like banks will be issuing the digital currency through digital wallet of their own bank's app, and then it is different from the normal savings account. How it is different is, the central bank digital currency does not earn any return in the form of interest, but in the case of savings or any other types of deposits which we have deposited in the bank, it will earn as a interest income. So this is what the details related to central bank digital currency is about. Okay, what is the difference between CBDC as well as cryptocurrency is that CBDC, that is central bank digital currency, is the legal tender, but in the case of cryptocurrency it is not the legal tender, and high volatility in cryptocurrency makes it's one of the unsafe element to be invested. But in the case of CBDC, it is similar to the physical fiat currency, where the issue of volatility will not arise. And then CBDC transaction details will be with persons, bank as well as merchant. But in the case of cryptocurrency transaction detail, the details will be in the public, where anyone could able to access and have a look at it. They could able to see the details in relation to the transaction detail of the cryptocurrency. Okay, what is the advantage of using central bank digital currencies? That it reduces operation cost of the physical cash. There has been a cost involved in managing the physical cash, which will be reduced drastically, and then it will increase the interbank market efficiency. Interbank market efficiency is the global network of the banks, where the banks will be transferring or trade their local currency to stem the forex depreciation or the rupee or the currency depreciation. And then it is cheap as well as fast and efficient in terms of cross border payment. And since India is receiving huge inflow of remittance from the other countries, by implementing the CBDC, the cost involved in remitting the money which comes from the other country will be reduced drastically, which is very helpful for the local consumers. And what is the challenge being involved in it is, it has the challenge of privacy as well as cyber security concern. And then there is a need for upskilling of employees. More importantly, the bank employees needed to upskill themselves so that they could be able to easily handle the CBDC technologies as well as the systems, which is challenging in. And then third is digital illiteracy that is prevailing across the country. Then see, because of the safety and security provided by the CBDC, there is a threat for the low cost deposits being invented or produced by the small banks. It is a threat for them because they may be losing the low cost saving deposit which was deposited with them, because of the safety security aspect, because of the safety as well as security provided by the CBDC. Okay, what needed to be studied is that we need to know about what does the SC GARC committee is about, and then second is we should know about the data protection bill. Third is we should also know about UPI as well as mobile wallet, and what is the difference between both of them. North, south as well as east, west, west. So the news is related to the decline of multilateralism which took place after Cold War, that is after 1990s. See, post Cold War multilateralism has passed its peak moments. After 1990s, after the end of the Cold War, many countries raced to a situation that there should not be any kind of unilateral aspect of unilateral decision making. There need to be multilateralism that should be prevailing, so that every country, most importantly the countries in ASEAN region or the Southeast Asian region, formed a group called as ASEAN, and then similarly the European countries integrated themselves into the European Union, so that they could able to act as one of the important player in the global arena because of their collective strength. And then similarly India also, not only during that period, India stopped depending on certain handful of country, it also began to diversify its relationship with other countries. So that India's relationship with China began during that period, and India started to look at the eastern side of the continents. Eastern side means look Southeast Asian as well as East Asian region, and then US integration with the China also took place. Similarly, every country began to interact with each other, as a result of which a cooperative multilateral type of politics in global arena was developing during the later stage of 1990s. See, that is why the Russia was drawn into G7 countries, as a result of which it began to convert it into G8 countries, and then China became close with US as well as ASEAN countries. So there was a heavy cooperation between each and every countries, so that global economy flourished. But this kind of multilateral decision making got ended, or its base got shaken during the 2014 Russian annexation of Crimea, and then which in turn led to the Russian-Ukraine war, which is happening right now. And then the unilateral decision taken by the China to extend their border beyond the other countries' sovereign borders also acted as one of the moment which reduced the multilateralism that was prevailing post Cold War. So this was it. So in order to overcome these kind of unilateral decisions, like Russia annexing Crimea and then fighting with going war with Ukraine, and then China creating trouble with the border countries, the regional groupings like Quad, AUKUS and Trilateral Compact, that is three countries, South Korea, Japan and US, formed the regional security partnership to overcome the unilateral decision or the unilateral security related threat being created by the China in this region. So this is what the fall down, this is what the reason for fall down of multilateralism, and then the multilateralism is now taking another shape, which how it is taking is we will look when in the upcoming slides. See what the India's multilateral stand. India supports, right, till now India is also supporting the multilateralism only. How it is supporting is that PM, our Prime Minister, is going to attend the ASEAN meeting, which is going to be held in Jakarta in Indonesia, where he will be saying that Quad in the Indo-Pacific region enables or contributes to the efforts of the ASEAN. So the Quad is not in a position to overtake the functioning of ASEAN. The ASEAN, the development of the Southeast Asian region will be centered around ASEAN only. So if the Quad is going to come in the Indo-Pacific region, means there will be tussle between both the groupings. But India is sure that the Southeast Asian region will be developed with the ASEAN grouping as with its core. But in the case of the role of Quad, its working will be only in the complementary nature of ASEAN. And then re-globalization. What our Ministry of External Affairs has said that right now the world is going to get re-globalized. What is re-globalized is the globalization where every countries will be the decision making will be democratized, and then the countries will not be the globalization will not be based on the consumption rather than production. The production will also not be concentrated only on certain countries like Beijing. So the supply chain will be splitted so that the resilience of the supply chain will be safeguarded. This kind of re-globalization will be created. So multiple production line is going to be created, means then multiple countries will come to the forum of the in the world arena. And then third is stressing the collective effort. Right now India is stressing the collective effort in decision making, which we could able to see in the G20 itself. In G20, India is making a huge effort to arrive at the collective decision in many problems which is threatening the global arena. And then, like in the case of inflation, digital transformation, food security, etc. And then fourth is putting global south in the G20. Right now, India is leading or acting as the voice for the global south in the G20 forum, so that India is trying to integrate those G20 or those global south country with the north country. North country means the developed countries, so that India is acting as a bridge between the developing as well as developed country by taking the lead of the global south in G20 as well as in every other forum. So these are all the stand being taken by India to promote the multilateralism in a different angle now, which is very democratic, where the supply chain will be very resilient, where the decision will be made based on consensus, and then where each and every nations will be integrated into the decision making, rather than the decision being taken by the certain handful of countries like Western or the developed countries. And how the news is related to civil service examination is, under prelims it is related to current events of national and international importance, and then it is related to, under mains it is related to effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interests and India diaspora. These are all under this topic only the news is related to. Okay, let's discuss about the previous year prelims question which was asked in relation to the news which we have seen right now on the board. India is a member of which one of the following countries? Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. No, India is not a member of it. Then Association of Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN. It is also not. Only the members of Southeast Asian are the members of ASEAN grouping, and then Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Here also India is not a member. And then East Asian Summit. Yes, in this, which is the initiative of ASEAN, in this India is the member of it. So answer is option B, 3 only. So let's discuss about ASEAN. It is the political as well as economic organization which was established in 1967 by 5 countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand under Bangkok Declaration. And then currently it has 10 members, where the members were joined in the later period of times. And then its secretariat is located in Jakarta, that is in Indonesia. Okay, let's discuss about other ASEAN groupings initiative like East Asian Summit. It was established in 2005 as an ASEAN-led initiative. It has total 18 members. Apart from the 10 members of ASEAN countries, the other members are India, China, Japan, US, Australia, New Zealand, as well as South Korea. And only leaders, and it is the only leaders-led forum where all key partners meet to discuss the political, security as well as economic challenges facing the Indo-Pacific region. And then US as well as Russia are also the members of the East Asian Summit. So totally 18 members. And then what is the relation between India as well as ASEAN? In this, the 43rd ASEAN Summit is going to be conducted. The ASEAN Summit is the highest decision-making body of the ASEAN platform, where the decision will be taken by the heads of the government, and it will set the tone or the policy for the ASEAN groupings. And then India-ASEAN relation. It is a multi-level India is engaging with ASEAN in multi-level meetings like East Asian Summit as well as ASEAN Regional Forum and ASEAN Defense Minister meetings, in which India is engaging with ASEAN countries. And then in Delhi dialogue, which aimed to promote track 1.5 diplomacy. Been held between India as well as ASEAN countries. What is track 1.5 diplomacy? Is the it is the engagement of officials as well as non-official members of the countries, so that the engagement will be taking place between the India as well as ASEAN member countries from both the officials as well as the non-official members, those who are present in those countries. And then Indo-Pacific, where, as I have said, the China is unilaterally behaving like extending its border towards the sovereign nation, towards the other sovereign nation without any kind of consensus based decision. So this kind of act has created a security threat in the Indo-Pacific maritime areas, so that India is engaging with ASEAN countries to push back the China. In this Indo-Pacific Indian Ocean Pacific Initiative is one of the initiative where the India as well as ASEAN countries is engaging to safeguard the maritime region of the Indo-Pacific region, so that it will be open as well as transparent, it will inclusive, and the maritime will be under the rules and regulation of international laws. And then India is following a policy of Act East policy from the 2014. See, as I said, after 1990s, India wanted to diversify its engagement across the world, so it formed a policy called Look East policy. And then after 2014, it converted that Look East policy into Act East policy, where India decided to actively engage with the Southeast Asian countries to promote the political, economic as well as other engagement with the ASEAN countries. So what we need to be study further is, we should know about what does the Sagar initiative of India is about, and then we should also know about what is the neighborhood first policy of India, and then third is we should know about the South China Sea, the map as well as the border countries of the South China Sea is about, and what is the issue of the South China Sea and is taking place there. We should also know about it. Rupee falls below 83 against dollar. See, this is the news. This rupee fall below 83 on account of strengthening of US dollars as well as rise in the crude oil price. So because of this reason, and also taking back of investment from the domestic equity market, and because of this reason, the rupee got depreciated against the US dollar, and US dollar strengthened due to another reasons like weakening of Chinese currency as well as the rise in the US bond yield. So how the news is related to exam is, under prelims it is related to economic as well as social development. Under mains it is related to Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment. Okay, let's discuss about first what is exchange rate. It is the rate at which the home currency will be exchanged into other international foreign currency. In that, the exchange rate will be based upon or decided by two types of method. One is fixed exchange rating system, another is floating exchange rate system. Where under fixed exchange rate system, the exchange rate will be manually fixed by the corresponding states, and in the case of floating exchange rate system, the exchange rate will be fixed depending upon the demand and supply of the particular currency. So right now India is following the floating exchange rate, and that depreciation is falling value of rupee or any other home currency. Why it is falling is because of the increased availability of the rupee or the other home currency, and then increased value of the US dollar, because it is one of the major trading currency. And then appreciation is opposite to the depreciation, where the home currency, for example rupee, rises against the US dollar, and because of increased demand, and also because of the increased demand and less availability of the rupee in the market, will also appreciate the value of the Indian currency. So this is what the exchange rate system is about. Okay, what is the major reason for rupee depreciation apart from the reasons which we have seen in the explanation of the news? First is global factors like increasing in the US Fed rate hike, and then global pandemic. These are all the situations which enable the depreciation of the rupees. And then increased trade deficit will also increase the rupee depreciation. Third is rise in crude price, because India is depending more. India depends more on the import of crude price from the Gulf countries. So if India is depending more of its oil requirement from other country, means India needed to pay for its import. So India will be paying in the form of US dollar, which is the common currency for the trade right now across the world. So the demand for the gold will get increased, correspondingly the demand for the rupee will get reduced, so it will be depreciating. And then outflow of FDI will also make the rupee depreciate. Why? Because it increase the demand for gold. It increase the demand for US dollar. So these are all the important reasons for the rupee depreciation. And what is the negative effect of the depreciation is that it increases the import cost, and then it will be increasing the inflation because of high import cost, and then it will also increase the cost of borrowing by the country, and then it will, because of these kind of factors, it will also increase the factor cost, as a result of which the overall production cost will also get increased. So these are all the important effect of negative effect of depreciation. So it also has some positive effect. How it is that our exports will become cheap, so that because of the cheapness of the export, it will become competitive in the global arena, so that our exports will also get increased. And then because of the depreciation or the weakness of the rupee, it will enable more number of tourists to come towards India, because that our rupee became very weak, so that the tourism also, the cost of the tourism will also will get reduced because of the cheapness of the rupees. And then it will also act as attractive for the global investor because of the reduced value of the asset in the country, as a result of which the investment will be coming to buy those assets, which in turn enable the production and as well as kickstart the economic cycle of the country. And these are all the important effects in relation to the depreciation is about. Okay, what we need to study further is, we should know about what is purchase power parity, and then we should also know about what is convertibility, and also we should also know about Tarapur committee. Tarapur committee, why it is formed and what kind of recommendation it has given. And also we should also know about the current account deficit. So these are all the other areas which we needed to be aware of. Tropical cyclone, especially in the Arabian Sea, are becoming more and more frequent. So it is the conversation with the director of the Indian Institute of 1 minute, there is some technical. It is a conversation with the Indian Express News as well as with the director of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. So what he has said is that the attribution study is being conducted to check whether the particular climate related event is being made or climate related event has occurred because of the climate change. What is the attribution study? Is that they will be accessing or they will be doing two kind of experiments. Where in one experiment they will check the details of the climate related event that occurred without involving any kind of greenhouse gases. In other experiment they will be checking the climate related data along with by involving the greenhouse gases that is present in the atmosphere. So with the multiple repetition in the experiment, they could able to arrive at the concrete decision. And then in the extreme events that is occurring in India as well as in across the globe, it is not occurring at the uniform rate. It is occurring it will be varying in the different region, varying in the time of quantity, it will vary in the kind of time. Example, in Western India, open sea has a link with Indian Ocean dipole, so that it has heavy influence. Indian Ocean dipole has the influence towards the rain of the Western India, so that these kind of factors combinedly will decide the rainfall in the particular region, as a result of which the intensity, duration or the amount of the rainfall in the particular region varies across the globe. And then tropical cyclone in Arabian Sea is right now getting increased, which is not the case earlier. And then temperature change are pronounced more in polar region because of the albedo region, because the ice has the high potential to absorb the solar radiation, as a result of which melting of the ice is taking place, so which in turn leading to rise in the sea level. Because of the rise in the sea level or the western sides of the countries, water is also getting raised. So this is what the explanation is about. Okay, let's look into how the news is related to civil service examination. Under prelims, it is related to India and world geography, physical, social, economic geography of India and the world. And in mains, it is related to important geophysical phenomena such as earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic activities, cyclone, etc. And then geographical features and their location changes in critical geographical features and in flora, fauna and the effect of such changes. Okay, let's discuss about what is the tropical cyclone first. The cyclone which occurs in the tropical area because of the conditions like larger sea surface which has average temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, and also presence of Coriolis forces along with pre-existing low pressure condition and also upper divergence above the sea level are the conditions which is required for formation of the tropical cyclone. And in that, the sustainability of the cyclone will be dependent on the latent heat, the heat which is present in the middle of the cyclone. So whenever the air mass is rising, the latent heat will be released, and this latent heat will be suppressed towards the core of the cyclone, which in turn boosts the intensity of the cyclone. So this latent heat acts as the fuel for the longevity of the tropical cyclone. So this is what the conditions which is important for the formation of the tropical cyclone support. And because of the trade winds, the cyclone will be moved towards the shores of India, not only in India and other tropical countries. So what impact the changes of impact of climate change. What impact does the climate change makes on tropical cyclone is that it has increased its intensity compared to the previous tropical cyclones intensity, and then it has increased cyclones formation, that is it has increased the number of times the cyclone formed in the required in the between the interval of time, and then it has increased the duration of cyclones, and then it also led to formation of cyclones in the newer areas, like in the case of formation of tropical cyclone in the Arabian Sea. So these are all the important impact of climate change on tropical cyclone. So what is the impact that does the climate change create on the monsoon is that it has increased the variability of the monsoon rainfall. Similarly, it has also enhanced the delayed withdrawal because of the enormous amount of heat, which in turn produces low pressure condition, so that it is delaying the withdrawal of the monsoon, and then it is also increasing the atmospheric teleconnection. Teleconnection means the connection of monsoon related climate events with the other global climate events like Indian Ocean Dipole, Madame-Julian oscillation, as well as El Nino phenomenon. And because of its high variability and intensity, it is leading to a situation of flooding in different part of the countries. So what impact does the climate change is creating on polar region is it has increased the melting of the polar region, as a result of which the sea level is also rising, and then because of the melting of polar ice caps at the enormous faster rate, it has led to destroying of polar ecosystem, and then because of the fast melting and destroying of polar ecosystem, the methane that is present in the beneath of the polar ice sheet is getting released, so that it is contributing more towards the greenhouse gases. So what need to be studied further is we should know about the El Nino phenomenon, and then second is we should also know about what is Madame-Julian oscillation, and then we should know about Indian Ocean Dipole. Fourth is we should also know about Southern oscillation. And also we should know about IPCC, and the report what is IPCC is its structure as well as function, and what are the reports being released by them. And third is we should know about United Nations framework for convention on climate change. So these are all the other areas which we need to be aware of. Army procure 170 armored recovery vehicle. So 170 armored recovery vehicle which is going to be procured by Indian Army for both desert as well as plain operation. And at present Army operates the BEML built vehicles which are based on Russian T-72 tank hulls. Okay, how the news is related to UPSC exam is under prelims it is related to current events of national and international importance, and then under mains it is related to achievements of Indian in science and technology, indigenization of technology and developing new technology under GS3 science and technology topic. Armor recovery vehicle, it helps repair as well as recovery capability of the armored vehicle which is fighting in the battle area, which in turn because of its ability to repair as well as recover the armored vehicle which is fighting in the war zone, it enhances the tactical as well as logistical capability of the Indian Army. As a result of which, it will enable the progress for all armored operations. So this is what the armored recovery vehicle is about. And then what does the T-90 tanks, which is being used by India, is about is, it is the Russian origin and the main battle tank of Indian Army, and it has the best armored protection, and it is built in India. Now it is being built in India, and it could able to fire nearly 8 shells in the 60 seconds, and it could able to fight in day as well as night, and it is considered to be the lightest as well as strongest tank in the world. And then Arjuna tanks, which is also currently in operation, and for its project was initially been introduced by DRDO in 1972, but its mass production began only in 1996 at Avadi region, which is present in Tamil Nadu, and then it has an important component called fin stabilized armored piercing discarding savute ammunition. So the outer layer of it is made up of this kind of very specialized technical thing which enable the protection of the tanks, so that it could enable the longevity as well as fighting capability of the tank. And then it is computer controlled integrated fire control system. So what need to be studied further is, we should know about the ordnance factory, and then second is, we should also know about what are all the battle helicopter that is present with India, particularly the Indian Defence Forces. Third is, we should also know about the BEML, its structure, under which ministry it is responsible. These are all the things which we need to be aware of. So let's see a practice question. So this is the today's prelims practice question. I want those students, those who are watching the current affairs session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. So have a look at it. Okay. Okay, students, with this we have reached the end of today's session. Thank you.